Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Unfortunately, I'm not there today physically to present. Nonetheless, Professor Pogonier thankfully gave him the opportunity to make a video where I can explain today's topic to you. Greetings everyone. Today we immerse ourselves in the scholarship of Professor M. Minkenberg, who is a prominent political scientist specializing in the intricate dynamics of radical right movements in Eastern Europe. In Chapter 4 of his book, which I was assigned to read, The Radical Right in Eastern Europe, Democracy Under Siege, published in 2017, Minkenberg explores the organizational patterns and ideological profiles of radical right movements in Eastern Europe since the 1990s. Professor Minkenberg's central thesis contends that radical right movements in Eastern Europe, emerging since the 1990s, exhibit distinct characteristics that set them apart from their Western counterpart. But what are these characteristics? Number one is extremity beyond the West. Minkenberg observes that Eastern European radical right parties tend to be more extreme, both organizationally and ideologically, than their Western counterparts, typically boasting irredentist or straight-up racist ideas as a base for their ideology. The second characteristic is religious nationalism. A significant aspect of Minkenberg's argument is the fusion of religion and nationalism in Eastern European radical right movements. So unlike their Western counterparts, parties like Poland's Law and Justice, or PiS party, and Hungary's Jobbik explicitly intertwine Christianity with national identity. Their religious agenda serves as a cohesive force aligning with ultra-conservative and fundamentalist currents in the region. The third aspect is historical narratives. Minkenberg underlines the weight of historical narratives in shaping the Eastern European radical right. Anti-Roma sentiments, fueled by stereotypes and prejudice, serve as transnational scapegoats. He draws parallels to anti-Semitic sentiments, but emphasizes the uniqueness of Eastern European prejudices. Now let's delve into the core observation Minkenberg presents regarding radical right parties, drawing from specific examples in the text. The first key characteristic is that they are electorally successful extreme types. Minkenberg points out that some extreme types among the radical right parties in Eastern Europe achieved electoral success and even entered national governments before their Western counterparts. Notable examples include the Slovak National Party, or the SNS, and the Greater Romania Party, PRM. Unlike their Western counterparts, these parties exhibited a higher degree of ideological extremism. The SNS, for example, promoted an ethnocentric agenda with a strong nationalist and even anti-EU stance. The second key characteristic is religious nationalist agenda in the East, which I also briefly referenced in the beginning. In Poland and Romania, religious actors became torchbearers of radical right thinking. In Poland, for example, the radical wing of Catholicism, particularly the network led by Radio Maria, operated independently and at times in opposition to the church. On the other hand, in Romania, the church itself assumed a leading role in advancing vital elements of the radical right agenda. The third key characteristic is fluidity and continuity in party dynamics. Minkenberg observed a scenario of fluidity in radical right parties, where some vanish, new ones emerge, but the ideology persists. This persistence occurs through two mechanisms, which Minkenberg underlines: the continuation of the radical right agenda by movements and organizations in the absence of relevant parties, and the adoption of this agenda by other political parties. Hungary, in particular, stands out as a case where mainstream right-wing parties co-opted the radical right agenda. Contextualization and critique of observations. While Minkenberg provides a comprehensive overview, it's essential to consider the broader socio-political context that shaped these observations. For instance, historical legacies, post-communist transitions, particularly evident in the East, and nationalist sentiments played pivotal roles in shaping the trajectory of radical right movements in Eastern Europe. Moreover, the fluidity observed in party dynamics may be a symptom of broader political volatility rather than some unique feature of radical right parties. In the following section, we'll apply these insights to a specific case study, Vetevendosje in Kosovo, to explore how regional dynamics influence the evolution of radical right movements. Section 1. Vetevendosje's electoral success and ethnocentrism. Vetevendosje, the current ruling party in Kosovo, provides an interesting case for analysis. The movement has achieved notable electoral success, emphasizing Kosovo's self-determination and the rights of ethnic Albanians. This aligns with Minkenberg's observations of electoral success among radical right parties in Eastern Europe, challenging the notion that such movements are confined to a specific ideologic or geographical category. Section 2. Religious and nationalist elements in Vetevendosje. While not explicitly religious, the movement's discourse often taps into Kosovo's historical and cultural identity, such as boasting Dardania flags associated with the ancestors of the Albanian people, the Illyrians, who reigned over ancient territory of Dardania, aka modern-day Kosovo, or recalling the anti-Yugoslav tendencies of the party's primary leaders, such as the current Prime Minister and chairman of the Vetevendosje party, Mr. Albin Kurti himself. Albin Kurti rose to prominence in October 1997 as a leader in Kosovo's student protests against Yugoslavia's Serbian law, which barred all Albanian students from the University of Pristina in Kosovo. Despite violent suppression, Kurti, who was 22 then, encouraged fellow students to keep up their resistance, organizing subsequent protests. For his political leadership among students during the Kosovo War in April 1999, Kurti was arrested and severely beaten, and then held in two of Yugoslavia's most horrific prisons, including the Dubrava prison, and later transferred to Požarev's prison. While at the Požarev's prison, Kurti was interviewed by Serbian and international media. This interview raised Kurti's significance to an almost ethereal level, an interview that is popular to this day and serves as evidence of Kurti's mysticism. A video I will show you too.
Which came out from the regime, from this anti-human and fascistic regime of Milosevic, is false, is falsehood. I said in court that I do not recognize the state of Serbia and Yugoslavia, and not even their system and their law, and as a result, I'm not going to ask for any kind of mercy or appeal.
Albeit Vetevendosje does not boast an explicitly religious element like Minkenberg proposes, the background and recognition of its prominent leader harmonize some spiritual elements, where Kurti is seen as a spearhead figure of covert ideals, almost like a half man and half a legend. So although Minkenberg didn't hit the bullseye with this one, he scored a few valid points. And lastly, a particularly interesting matter of violent political disruption. In 2015, an EU broker deal between Kosovo and Serbia was supposedly reached. This magical deal proved very controversial with Kosovo Albanians since it featured territorial exchanges and compromises that opposed fundamental Kosovar sovereignty. Vetevendosje, led by Albin Kurti, organized a three-part series of tear-gas attacks in parliament to halt the deal.
Deputeti Albin Kurti në seancë lëshoi gazin lotësjellës që shkaktoi pasoja tek deputetët dhe të gjithë pjesëmarrësit në seancë. Ratimi i projektligjeve dhe deputetët lëshuan sallën, ndërsa
Albin Kurti was blamed and arrested, and his private flat was raided. Vetevendosje MPs and supporters were also arrested, and among them was my own grandmother. After Kurti's release, the backlash that Vetevendosje received from the EU and Western channels was paramount. And yet, support for Vetevendosje skyrocketed in Kosovo, making them the second most supported party in the country. To bring it back to Minkenberg, Vetevendosje fulfills his criteria for nationalist factors and historical narratives almost wholly, somewhat braces his religious affiliation postulate, and approves his idea that they are electorally successful. All in all, Minkenberg's arguments align well with the case of Vetevendosje. This nuanced examination reaffirms the idea that while radical right movements have commonalities, their manifestation is profoundly influenced by each region's unique history and culture. Thank you for your thoughtful engagement throughout this lecture. For any questions, please email me. Also, subscribe to my channel for more occasional University Enforced videos. This has been Lena Ibishi. See you next time.